Hello, good afternoon, good evening, how are we? Oh, there you go. Thought I'd pop that one in there as well. How is everybody today? I hope you're all well. I hope things are fine with you. How has the week been treating you? It's been a while. It's been 2 weeks, as it always is, since I last saw you. So what have you been up to? Do chuck it in the chat. Tell me what you've been doing. Before we get on with what we're going to be talking about today. As always, before we get started, a quick reminder, you can always donate as much or as little as you want. Maybe buy us a coffee over on our coffee.com page. You're probably here already on YouTube, so you know exactly what's going on. Renewable English on YouTube, and then of course we're also over on Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter and TikTok. But you know, we're slowly getting there on TikTok, but very, very slowly. So I'm going to put the quote up for you and ask, what does this mean to you? What does it actually mean to you? So I'm going to read the full quote very shortly. It didn't all fit on there, but I'd like to have a look at that and say what you think about it. What does it mean to you? How does it make you feel? Well, I'll read you the full quote from Joybell C. And it is, "We are all equal in the fact we are all different. We are all the same in the fact we will never be the same. We are united by the reality that all colours, all cultures are distinct and individual. We are harmonious in the reality that we are all held to the earth by the same gravity. We do not share blood, but we do share the air that keeps us alive. I will not blind myself and say that my black brother is not different from me. I will not blind myself and say that my black sister is not different from me. But my black brother is he as much as I am me, but my brown sister is she as much as I am me." So I think what Joybell C is trying to say here is, you know, we're not all the same. There's no point pretending we're all the same. Everybody is different, but we should celebrate those differences and enjoy those differences and continue with life, celebrating what's great and what is different about us. That is the only way we are equal, in that we are not the same. So let's have a look at some of the vocabulary for today. We've got inequality, tolerance, and ethnicity. Inequality, tolerance, and ethnicity. What do you think about those? What do they mean to you? If you've got the worksheet, if you've been on the worksheet, you can find it on renewableenglish.com/materials. I didn't even get it ready for you there. That was a schoolboy error. /materials. Feel free to jump on in there, grab the materials, and use the worksheet. We've got these questions on there. So let's have a look. What is inequality? A difference in circumstance, size, opportunity, when things are not equal, basically. I like to look particularly at the circumstance and opportunity. When we don't have an equal opportunity to do something, that's where inequality lies. And that's something we need to try and erase. These differences, these gaping differences. I know as a white man, I am incredibly privileged. I'm aware of my privilege, and it's something that you need to use, I need to use, to try and help break barriers of inequality. What is tolerance? That's the ability to sympathise. Now, this is what the dictionary said. To sympathise with beliefs different to your own. I don't necessarily think you have to sympathise with them, but understand these beliefs that are different to your own. And accept them as well. It's not about things that you don't agree with necessarily, but accept things that aren't the way you are, because Not everything is going to be the way you are, whether you like it or not. And then finally, ethnicity, something we'll be looking at a little while later as well, is belonging to a group that has a common national or cultural tradition. And as I said that, my dog Estrella yawned, made a very interesting sound. So here is some of the vocabulary we will be using today. Tolerance, and of course intolerance as well, which is the opposite. So do check out the worksheet, do complete it as we go along. And let's have a quick look. Oh, there you go. She's decided to join the party. So we are looking today at SDG number 10. So remember, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, are a framework that was set up, or a blueprint rather, set up by the United Nations to try and, bring equality, bring sustainability to the entire planet. And this is talking about reducing inequality within and among countries. Now, we're shortly going to look at the 7 different targets, but I think the United Nations have fallen grossly short of the mark when it comes to this particular SDG. I think it's too general. Yes, we also have gender equality is another SDG. SDG number 5 is gender equality. So it looks at the imbalance between genders. But I don't think that SDG10 goes nearly far enough into addressing the gross inequality we have on all sorts of levels. We'll watch a video soon that will talk about them, but when we look at the actual targets, I think it's a bit wide of the mark. So we have it here. Let's go through and look at the different targets. You'll be able to see there on screen. They want to sustain income growth of the bottom 40% of the population at a rate higher than the national average. We're not doing so well on that at the moment. Empower, promote the social, economic and political inclusion of all, irrespective of age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic or other status. Now, this feels to me like a hugely sweeping statement. This is just saying, let's stop all inequality. This doesn't feel very specific to me. This feels like it could be a goal all in itself. The next one, ensure equal opportunity and reduce inequalities of outcome, including by eliminating discriminatory laws, policies and practices, and promoting appropriate legislation and policies and action in this regard. Again, it's very wordy, very politician-y, and it's saying it's going to remove inequalities. So discriminatory laws, well, I'm pretty sure there's still conversion therapy is legal in quite a lot of places. That's a discriminatory law. That needs to be completely outlawed, surely. I know that there are some states in the USA that don't allow for people to transition. It's a lot more difficult. So this doesn't feel like equality in some of the biggest superpowers in the world. Adapt policies, especially fiscal, wage and social protection policies, and progressively achieve greater equality. So more money, please, basically. So are we going to are we going to raise the minimum wage to a better living wage? Or, here's a better idea, why don't we raise politicians' wages? Because, they're demanding workload. That feels like equality. How about instead of raising a politician's wage, we take that money and we add it to disability benefits or something along those lines? Doesn't feel like this one's even close to being achieved at the moment. Number 5 is improve the regulation and monitoring of global financial markets and institutions and strengthen the implementation of such regulations. Okay, let's put some sanctions on banks. Okay, let's do that. Let's start now, yeah? Ensure enhanced representation and voice for developing countries in decision-making, global international economic and financial institutions in order to deliver more effective, credible, accountable and legitimate institutions. Again, are we seeing these changes? Are they happening? Are these less represented nations, are they being brought to the fore? Now, I know it's not the same, but at COP26, it was very difficult for developing, for the global south to get even to COP, to have their voice heard above all of the global north clamouring. And then the final one here is to facilitate orderly, safe, regular, responsible migration, mobility of people, including through the implementation of planned and well-managed migration policies. How's that going? At the moment, this is a huge issue, but it's something that's been an issue for a long time and will always be an issue, and it's something that feels to me is not being addressed in any way, shape or form. Now, we're going to go to the unfun facts. Now, with this, I didn't want to invite Unfun Frank because often, with Unfun Frank, it makes a bit of a joke of the unfun facts, which at times, it's okay to make light of the situation. But with these, I feel they're just a bit too serious to be making light of them. So let's have a look over here. The first fact there is the world's richest 22 men have more money than all the women in Africa. Now let that sink in for a moment. 22 people, so that's the equivalent of a football match. 22 men have more money than all of the women in all of Africa. The entire continent. That's not equality. That is one of the most glaring inequalities you could possibly see. Taxing an extra 0.5% of wealth of the richest 1% over 10 years could be invested to create 177 million jobs, according to Oxfam. 177 million jobs. And that's for 0.5% of the wealth for the rich. Now, with inflation going up, look at the price of food. Let's go into your local supermarket and compare prices from now to a year or two ago. What's changed? What prices have changed in there? I'll tell you. Things like spaghetti. If you want to buy some freeze-dried spaghetti, you used to be able to get it for what? About 30, 35p. Good luck getting it anywhere under 80p at the moment. Let's look at what hasn't changed. Your £10 meal deals, or your sandwiches that come ready-made in a packet. These things that are aimed at wealthier people. Have these changed prices, or is your £10 meal deal still your £10 meal deal as it has been for the last 15 years? Some things don't change. Obviously, things aren't going to change for the wealthy because why would they want them to change? So let's have a look at the next alarming fact. In 2019, the estimated earnings for LGBT women were 17% lower than a heterosexual woman. So that's not even a gender pay gap. It's an awful pay gap within a gender, which, again, we need to fight these inequalities. When it comes to International Women's Day, it's not just about posting and saying, these are my favourite women who have done some great things, because we all know that women are absolutely incredible and will continue to do amazing things forever. What we need to do is break down these barriers and erase these issues. Now, the next one was one that was particularly shocking for me. Black men in the US receive sentences that are, on average, 19.1% longer than those of white men convicted of the same crimes. Of the same crimes. So, if I go out and, I don't know, steal something, and a friend of mine goes out and steals something, why should we be judged on the colour of our skin for our sentence? Surely we should be judged by the crime we committed. It's something that makes me sick to the stomach. And it's another barrier that we need to break down, and it's something that can easily be remedied. This can easily be remedied. This is obviously a racial bias within judges across the United States, and it's unfair and it needs to change. So let's check if they are true or false. Let's check if they are true or false. Get ready. You can put your answers in the chat box or you can write it on your worksheet. So fact number 1, 22 men are wealthier than the entire female population of Africa. What do you think? What do you think? What could the answer be to that one? What do you reckon? Max, are you here today? I know you said you were going to come along, so I wonder if you're watching back or if you're here. Feel free to chuck it in the chat box if it's true or false. Now, sadly, and again, awfully alarmingly, this unfun fact is horribly very true. So the next one, fact number 2, what do we think? LGBTQ women earn significantly more than heterosexual women. They earn considerably more than heterosexual women. What do you think? LGBTQ women earn more than heterosexual women? Is that a true? Is that a false? It is false. They earn significantly less, around 17%. 17%. Horrible. And finally, courts in the US give equal punishment regardless of ethnicity. Courts in the US give equal punishment regardless of ethnicity. What do we think? It is, of course, completely false. 19.1% longer, or 19.1% shorter for somebody who is white committing the same crime, being convicted of the same crime. So we are going to watch a video all about the SDGs. Oh, I've forgotten to put number 1 in there. That was very bad of me. Number 1. Again, these are all over there on your worksheet. Feel free to check it out. They're all over there on your worksheet. The first one there. Remember, with any listening activity you're doing, you should always read the questions first. It's very important to read your questions first. Whoop, so he throws them to the bottom of the screen. I was trying to move that. So what is SDG10? You have your options there. How much of the world's income is controlled by, I'm covering that one up, 10% of the population? How many types of inequality does the narrator mention? Can you name them? And what is the name of the lady who refused to give up her seat? And what, finally, is the narrator's 5th tip in the video? So here we go.
Reducing inequality within and among countries. How many types of inequality are you aware of? Did you ever stop to think about it? Income inequalities show how alarming it is that the richest 10% of the population possesses almost half of the world's total income. Moreover, there are inequalities based on gender, age, sexual orientation, class, ethnic origin, and religion. Why should we stop this? Because inequalities weaken growth, encourage poverty, and reduce the feeling of fulfillment and self-esteem of people. Inequality also encourages delinquency, illnesses, and the environment's deterioration. They are all prejudices. Let's get rid of them. Rosa Parks decided to change things in the 50s, and nowadays we still remember her. She was a key figure in the movement for civil rights in the USA when refusing to give up her seat to a white man and moving to the back part of the bus that was separated for black people. She was a regular person and at the same time fundamental to the movement, the same way we can all get to be. You aren't different from her. You are people with the same capacities. 1. Assess resources to humanitarian help to fight inequalities that generate natural disasters and wars. Medicines, such as ibuprofen, can make an enormous difference. 2. Promote the elimination of salary gaps in your environment. They are one of the biggest signs of inequality in developed countries. 3. Give strong support to multicultural education through trips, history of the world, and activities with people from other neighborhoods. Something as simple as having a conversation can be an inclusive act. 4. Sponsor homeschooled children. You'll be able to follow their evolution and you'll be changing their future. 5. Protest inequalities when you detect them, mostly if you are being favored against a more vulnerable person. Your role is the most important one. Let's achieve today a more equal society to enjoy it tomorrow.
So let's take another quick look at the questions before we listen again. What is SDG10? How much of the world's income is controlled by 10% of the population? How many other types of inequality does the narrator mention? Can you name them? What's the name of the lady who refused to give up her seat? And what's the narrator's 5th tip? So let's get back in there and let's listen again.
Reducing inequality within and among countries. How many types of inequality are you aware of? Did you ever stop to think about it? Income inequalities show how alarming it is that the richest 10% of the population possesses almost half of the world's total income. Moreover, there are inequalities based on gender, age, sexual orientation, class, ethnic origin, and religion. Why should we stop this? Because inequalities weaken growth, encourage poverty, and reduce the feeling of fulfillment and self-esteem of people. Inequality also encourages delinquency, illnesses, and the environment's deterioration. They are all prejudices. Let's get rid of them. Rosa Parks decided to change things in the 50s, and nowadays we still remember her. She was a key figure in the movement for civil rights in the USA when refusing to give up her seat to a white man and moving to the back part of the bus that was separated for black people. She was a regular person and at the same time fundamental to the movement, the same way we can all get to be. You aren't different from her. You are people with the same capacities. 1. Assess resources to humanitarian help to fight inequalities that generate natural disasters and wars. Medicines, such as ibuprofen, can make an enormous difference. 2. Promote the elimination of salary gaps in your environment. They are one of the biggest signs of inequality in developed countries. 3. Give strong support to multicultural education through trips, history of the world, and activities with people from other neighborhoods. Something as simple as having a conversation can be an inclusive act. 4. Sponsor homeschooled children. You'll be able to follow their evolution and you'll be changing their future. 5. Protest inequalities when you detect them, mostly if you are being favored against a more vulnerable person. Your role is the most important one. Let's achieve today a more equal society to enjoy it tomorrow.
So there we go. What do we have? SDG number 10. Feel free, chuck it in the chat box or just put it on your worksheet. What is SDG10? It is, of course, reduced inequality. Is this the most important SDG? I don't know. It's certainly up there in the top 5. That's no doubt about it in my mind. How much of the world's income is controlled by 10% of the world's population? What do you reckon? Almost half. Almost half. How many other types of inequality did the narrator mention? Now this one was tricky. She said them all bam, 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 all at once. There were 6. There were 6. And they were to do with gender, age, sexual orientation, ethnicity, class, and religion. All 6. The name of the lady who refused to give up her seat. What was the name of the lady who refused to give up her seat? Can you remember her name? Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks. If you've not read about Rosa Parks, do go out there and read about her. An incredible woman, a very, very brave person to take a stand, and a leader in change. And she was, as it mentioned in the video, just a normal person. And the narrator's fifth tip, my favourite of all, go out there and protest to make change. Have your voices heard. Don't sit there in the quiet. Don't sit there in the dark. Get out there and shout it from the rooftops that you want equality for everybody. That you want opportunities to be shared out for everybody. That you want the pay gaps to disappear. Get out there and shout it from the rooftops. It's almost time to go, but we do have time for everybody's favourite, Ali's top tips. You may have seen them today across the socials, but do tune in now. Let's have a look and see what we've got.
Hello and welcome to Ali's top tips. Is it normal that 22 men have more than every woman in Africa? No, that's rich. We're all the same in that we're different. Let's celebrate those differences. Variety is the spice of life. If you see a person being treated badly for the way they are, stand up for them. Change education to be more inclusive. There are two types of people in the world. Tolerant people and intolerant people. Don't be intolerant. Thanks for watching. Bye.
So there we go. There were Ali's top tips. Just a quick reminder. Find us on the socials. And of course, feel free to donate. What's your promise to stop inequality for this week? Do share with us what your ideas are, what your promises are. Do you have any other top tips? Feel free to share them with us. We'll be back in 2 weeks with SDG11. I'll be in a different room. My wife and I are switching offices. She's going to come up here and be lucky enough to share the dog's bedroom. I'm going to go downstairs and share the spare guest bedroom. It's been a pleasure as always. Thanks very much for coming along. And I'll see you soon.